Welcome back to the Pennon Podcast. This is episode 34. Eddie, can we get a check
Yes,
on that? 34?
I'll give it a check. Tried to use my mouse again, which isn't plugged in.
Oh, all right. Episode, I believe it is 34. But we have sure.
Uh, Jesus, here we go. There we go. Okay.
And
You're uploading 33, so yes, this is 34.
34. Let's go. All right. And something that's we're doing different instead of our normal, game discussions. I mean, we've had different kind of episodes on here. We talked about one of our first ones was the lifting and Game On Expo
Oh
we
yeah, I
talked
remember
about,
that.
and then
That was early.
we
Yeah.
had, we had an interview with Seth. And his actually, there's more details coming out about his game that we interviewed him about.
Woohoo!
So I'll probably do another episode on that because that's
Yeah,
cool, man.
yeah.
But
That was a
we are
cool
gonna be
conversation.
That's right. We're gonna be doing a film analysis slash discussion. I would say film discussion. We're not really analyzing.
Yeah.
We're not that much of a critic to analyze. But Eddie is though. He wrote a whole 1 page review on with a movie we watched, American Psycho from 2000,
Nice.
with Christian Bale in it,
Yep.
and he wrote a great review. Like, in terms of today, like, I can see you, if you wrote that review back in 2000, it would still be perfect. It'd be great.
Damn. Thank you.
You gave it a
Appreciate
perfect
that.
rating too, which
I did. Yeah.
I also noticed. I was like, he barely gives perfect ratings for music, so I want to pick his brain on why
Yeah.
this was. You've never seen it before, right? But you've seen the memes.
I've seen the memes everywhere, yeah. And I've
Yeah,
also seen the completely irrational idolization of Patrick Bateman all over the internet for the last like year.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Definitely, we got some insight on that. But that's what we're gonna
Yeah.
be doing. But first, well, we're gonna do every episode like how we've been doing, how you doing, what you playing, question,
Uh,
intro. This is our intro. What you been
yeah.
playing? What you doing?
I'm still playing CS a lot. That's all I've been doing. And then graduated college on Saturday. That was cool.
Woo! Congratulations, bachelor's
Uh,
degree boy, right here.
bachelor's degree gang. Yeah, so I did that. It was hot as fuck in the building, and it's been raining here for like the past like 8 days, like constantly raining. It's like Seattle vibe. Crazy.
Oh,
So it's been wet and got my big coat on. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's actually
Uh
raining here when I left work
oh
today.
wow. All right. Get the desert rain. Hell yeah.
It smells
Um
just like Colorado. It smells like the exact
oh
same.
okay. Thought you were gonna say it smells dusty or something.
Nah.
um let's see what else. Um I still don't know if I technically graduated or not because my final grades aren't due till the 18th.
That's stupid.
So two of my teachers have not submitted. So I really don't know if the degree that they gave me is legitimate or not yet.
They give you a fake degree.
Yeah, pretty much. Could be just a worthless piece of paper. But I'm pretty confident. So yeah. What else? I been doing my music reviews, and then ever since Zach sort of discussed that we should do more movie stuff on the podcast here. I've been watching some movies and whatnot. I watched World War Z, and
We did.
I also watched Inglorious Bastards, which is one of my favorite movies ever. That's a great
Oh,
one.
dude,
Um,
Glorious Bastards. Martin Scorsese, not Martin
it's
Scorsese. No, who does that?
Tarantino.
Tarantino.
Yeah,
Tarantino. Oh, yes, yeah. We'll definitely be watching
yeah,
his stuff.
yeah. That's a great movie. I just love Brad Pitt's probably one of my favorite actors. That's why I watch World War Z also.
Oh yeah, makes
But
sense.
yeah. Yeah, I think Brad Pitt in that movie's awesome. But yeah, so I did the we watched I also watched the movie that we're going to talk about here today, and definitely, I did some research on the adaptation from the book and some research on the sort of the motives and how it connects to who directed it and stuff like that. So I wrote up a review on that, and I was pretty proud of that one. Being my first movie review, it felt pretty cohesive, and I was pretty happy with what turned out.
Dude, I'm gonna take
And
the
then,
title. I'm gonna take the title of that review. I'm gonna put it as the title of the
oh,
episode. I like it.
I thought that was funny.
Exploring the fragility of the finance, bro. Like that's perfect. Especially like for
It's
nowadays. It's perfect.
yeah. My inspiration for the title was well, like the general. I mean, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but like the people that idolize that character are the douchey finance bros that I see at my business school.
Oh
Like they're
man.
all like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I thought that was funny because like whenever I see people like, oh, Patrick Bateman, he's so misunderstood. He's just like me, bro. He's just like me. Whenever I see people like that, it's always like the fucking bottom of the barrel, Andrew Tate, fucking red pill, alt right bullshit
Oh
business school
man.
people. And I'm like,
Bottom
oh my God.
feeders, dude.
Yeah. Literally trash of the earth. They're very hateful and they're horrible people. So I just had to sprinkle a little roast in there. But yeah, that's been my existence lately. What about you? All
Well, I've been very much playing a new game
right.
that
Oh,
I didn't I did I tell you like it came out in December. It's called Marvel's Midnight Suns. Did I tell you I was a little bit excited for that?
I think I heard you talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, and I was turned off from it because one, it's like it's tactical gameplay. You know how like you move players across like a board, right? And
Right.
your positions matter. But it was with cards. So like the combat's with card, but the movement like it's across like a battlefield.
Huh. Okay.
So it's weird. And it's like Slay the Spire, but like you're moving your characters also.
Okay.
And so how the battlefield
Interesting.
works is that like there's environmental stuff. So like I
Mm-hmm.
could like take like a fucking a big box and just chuck it at somebody. I could kick
Okay.
like an electrical box, stuff like that. There's propane
Okay.
tanks. There's like a light fixture I can just topple down. But it's with
Hmm.
Marvel heroes.
Okay.
So like it looked really fun. And then like the card and then like the gameplay released. I was like, oh, cards.
He's like,
I was like,
ugh.
and then I learned that like half the game is like sort of so in your downtime you're in this place called the Abbey where you like socialize with different heroes, take part in like basically you build up their friendship, right? And it reflects like how they are in combat, different buffs, stats, stuff like that. It's basically XCOM, but Marvel.
Interesting. So
And
it's
so
like, okay. So it's like tactical shooter.
not even shooter. It's like
Well, not
it's
shooter, but
yeah,
like tactical. It's like XCOM. So it's like tactical shooter plus Slay the Spire plus Hearthstone plus uh Marvel.
Marvel
Yeah?
plus like kind of like it's called like persona elements. It's like a
Okay.
social elements.
Okay. Huh.
And like depending on your answer to some heroes, they're not gonna like it. Like this one woman, I like you can join like a hangout. You can like invite the character to go like get drinks, to work
Hmm.
out, lit like battle like practice battle, stuff like
Sure.
that. I took this woman to go like to like an overpass, just like have one of them was a deep conversation, and
Okay.
this character likes to keep to themselves, so they did not like me doing that. I was like, well, damn it. So now
Okay.
like
So they have like social traits and stuff.
traits and like their friendship level will go up or down depending on
Okay.
your answers and stuff.
Sure.
Um, there's a club. I can join clubs. I'm in the emo club.
Hell yeah.
It's an abbreviation. Doesn't make sense, but it's like mystical. It's the mystical club, pretty much.
All right.
So
The
like,
Wizardry Club.
yeah, you got heroes like Doctor Strange, Spider
Oh, okay.
Man.
Yeah.
You're the player character is this like demon hunter that's been resurrected over for 3 centuries. Finally, like resurrected to take down like another demon. Pretty much, it's like
Nice.
terrorizing the world.
That's cool.
I got Blade in there. I got Iron Man
Yep.
so far. I'll unlock more characters. Who else do I unlock? This girl named Magic, part of the X Men. I got like two X Men people on there. Scarlet Witch is in the game. It's like
Nice.
Wanda Maximoff. So yeah, stuff like that. And I was really fun. Like I was playing Jedi Survivor, and then like when the Marvel game came in, I just put it in to download it to my PS5. And then I was getting ready to play. I was like, man, I kind of want to get up to put Jedi Survivor in right now. So I'm gonna try Marvel Midnight Suns. So I did it. I was like, hey yo. It's like, whoa.
Hey,
Let me sit
yo.
up. This is interesting, and
Shit fire,
that's
bro.
what I've been playing. But like also
Nice.
I've been on like some like car rides. I've just been playing. I was actually
Oh, on the Switch.
when my girlfriend was getting her glasses.
Yeah.
I was playing that at the office while I was waiting. I was playing Mario
Hell yeah.
Rabbids.
Ultimate pastime
Yeah.
in the in the optical office.
That's right. And I just remembered I have to cancel this upload because I have to censor stuff that you said.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Doxed me.
Yeah.
Let me cancel this.
That's funny.
But yeah, watched American Psycho again. I've already seen the movie, but like I was so excited for him to watch it for the first time that like my girlfriend she's never seen it,
Oh, nice.
and I read her like parts of your review and she was like, "Oh my gosh. Yeah. Dang." Uh when you said the part about where is it? Uh the like how it ah his like he has to like the dominate women to be validated.
Mm,
That whole section,
correct.
she was like, "Yes, Eddie, yes, that's what we like."
Well, thank you. I appreciate. Tell her thank you.
He says, "Thank you." So that's what I've been watching. Been playing Marvel Midnight Suns, and like I remember telling you that like, ah man, the social aspect of the cards kind of threw me off. I'll
Yeah,
buy it for like $30. I paid
yeah.
27 for like the deluxe edition of the game.
Oh, nice. Hell yeah.
So always physical.
Bargain. Bargain.
And
Hell
so
yeah.
like and this content creator that I follow, his name's Lord Cognito. He he's
Okay.
like singing he loves this game. He was singing the praises of this game ever since it came out, right? And I finally played a couple hours of it, and I tweeted a picture of like some gameplay, but I quote retweeted that with a picture of that guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like the short kind of
Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito, where he
Yeah.
has like no glasses on. He's like, I get it now.
Oh.
I tweeted that to him like I was
Hot
wrong to
meme.
judge this game.
I understand. It's so
And
much
now,
better.
yeah,
That's
uh,
funny.
dude, yeah, I love this game. It's like
Moment
you
of
take,
truth.
it's so cool. You got different outfits and everything that you can have.
Hell yeah.
Oh, Captain Marvel's in it. That's right, I forgot.
Oh, okay.
Captain Marvel's in
Nice.
there. It's so cool. I am having a lot of fun with that.
Hell yeah.
And now that you
Amazing.
have more time,
Correct.
are you gonna delve deep into more different genres?
I think honestly, like, I think the movie route has been quite interesting to me because, like, I've kind of ignored movies my whole life. Like, I know that sounds like a strange
Yeah,
statement, but like, I never really, I don't know, I just never really like sought out movies. Like, I didn't watch a lot of movies in high school with you guys. Like, you
I
guys went
remember.
to a lot more. I just wouldn't like, I didn't go, or like,
Yeah,
I don't watch them at home. Like, I don't know. It's weird. Like, I could probably, I mean, I've seen a lot of movies, but I feel like I've seen quite a bit less than the average person.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think I'm gonna expand that realm a little bit on the side.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah, I restrung all my guitars too, so I've been
Okay.
playing that a little bit more. And then Ishan is about to drop another song. We listened to it the other
Ooh,
day.
I
Yeah.
I'm waiting for this.
Yeah, it's pretty good. He
Waiting on you, Sean. If you don't see me right now, I got my hand on my
yeah,
invisible watch.
yeah. But he played it at the had a little barbecue after graduation, and he played it, and I was impressed. It was pretty good. So yeah, definitely look out for Ishan on the Spotify upload. But yeah,
That definitely will,
so
dude. He's
yeah,
first song is iconic. Like
it's
I
really good,
I
dude.
can
It's
sing
really good.
I can already know like the words of it like as I'm thinking of it now. Right? It's good.
Yeah, yeah. Great, cutesy little love song.
That's
I
right.
love that song. It's great. Yeah.
Um fucking I was playing Jedi Survivor and
Yeah.
I think I told you my impressions of it so far. Did I tell you about this the frog boss?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
already told you about that. I haven't
Yeah.
gone back to it. It's pissed me
Okay.
off.
That's funny.
Yeah, I already told you all about that. But that's really all I've been playing. I played it was like a big session last night. I was just
Mm.
straight playing that and
Grinding. Hell
grinding
yeah.
Marvel Midnight Suns. So let's go. But
Fire.
yeah, definitely, I'm excited about the film thing. I've seen a lot of movies,
Yep.
but I'm not crossing that border of I know what kind of film to watch. Like
Oh,
the film bros. I'm not a
you don't
film
want to be
bro.
a snob.
A
Yeah.
snob. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this Marvel movie, horrible. 4 out of 10.
You don't want to have that
Too many
hyper
jokes.
that like super like eclectic taste to the point where it's like kind of cringy. Yeah.
Yes, I want to enjoy
Yeah.
watching movies.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
much. It's. I mean, we
Yeah.
probably will talk about some bad ones, but we'll
Yeah.
see. It's the first one.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. So why a 10 out of 10 as your first
Why
film
a 10?
review? Why would you
Wow.
giving this a
Okay.
10?
Well, let me sort of recall. Let me pull up my little page here on the half tab. Hold on. Almost there. Ooh, that's a lot. Okay. Uh, uh,
Oh, that was Reese Witherspoon. I didn't know that was her.
oh, his fiance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So why did I give it a 10? So when I uh, when I give an album a 10, so basically like okay, before I did this review, let me go to my main page. Um, I rewrote my music reviewing like method and philosophy, and then I kind of like I added like a separate part of my bio on my Rate Your Music about like how I go into movies, and basically like with a 10 album, like what qualities do I look for in a 10 album? Like the biggest one for me is like constant attention. Like there's no point in which I have any desire to break away from the experience. Like it's hard to turn it off. It's hard to disengage.
Right? Everything is like a plot detail.
Correct. Yeah. Um and the way that manifested in this movie was I think he is Patrick Bateman is like such a um he's such a terrible person, but his existence is so interesting to me. Because obviously he's a satire of some themes that we'll talk about in a minute. But um his yeah, it's just like when he would narrate himself and say those like all the stupid edgy videos on TikTok where he's like, you can shake my hand and while I may have flesh and blah blah blah, and I have all the
Yeah.
qualities of human being, I am simply not there. Like when he was saying that shit, like it's so outrageous and interesting to have
Yeah.
to witness
Out
someone's existence like that. Like,
right?
yeah,
One of them, like the one I remember the most, and it's so interesting. He's like, there is an illusion. There's an illusion of a Patrick Bateman, right?
Oh
Is that
yeah,
what he says?
Vision. Yeah.
There's an
Yep.
illusion of a Patrick Bateman, but I am simply not there.
Yeah.
Like, wow. Like, how
hmm
I interpret that is that like his real like I don't even know. I
I
I'm
think
like stumped.
yeah. Um I think basically like I mean there's some like most of the challenging part with his character is that most of it is like an exaggeration obviously, but like there are some traits of like severely um psychopathic individuals where they're like because they lack empathy to such a high degree, they have no way to create their own personality. So like when he says like there's a symbol or an idea of what Patrick Bateman is, it's basically just him copying. You know how he says he wants to fit in all the time? You remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah. That's a
Yeah.
constant theme. It's like
Yeah.
he tells his fiance, he's like, "Ah, what was he saying? That like he wanted to attend something, right? In the car,
Uh
like the first scene with both of them,
oh yeah. I
where
remember.
she was
I
like,
want to
he's like,
attend
why do you even want to go to that? Like you don't even like the guys there or whatever. And he's like, and like he doesn't
she's
even
like I'm
listen
just
to
trying
her.
to fit in.
He doesn't even listen. He's
Yeah.
like, the way he says, he's like,
Yeah.
because I want
I'm
to
trying to
fit
fit in.
in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because he has no capacity for empathy or has no self-awareness, he's completely incapable of developing a personality for himself. So basically, by fitting in, he just seeks to copy some sort of idealistic caricature of what a upscale white businessman is in a societal view. Um, so he like strives for that because he has no capacity to create anything for himself. So that's what he goes for, is he reaches for that idealistic fit individual that fits in. Um, because he has no ability to create his own life for himself because he is so emotionally stunted.
Yeah. So, but like, let's just talk about what happens, like the plot. So let's talk about the
Yeah.
plot of the film. So like, it opens with his like his no right. It opens with with them at a restaurant, right? And
Yeah. They're him and the douchebag bros. Yeah.
yeah, he says a little bit of narration in there.
Uh, let's see.
I forgot, but like that doesn't even matter. Like the whole plot of this film is we see Patrick Bateman like like strung of murders like that he just commits
Yep.
with reason and without reason. And would you see him the next day go to work,
Yes.
right? But what this film is like centrally about, what like the main thing is that like he kills his business like business associate he knows. I won't even say I'm an associate. His name's Paul Allen. He's played by Jared Leto.
Jared Leto.
I know I saw this like Jared Leto? What?
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
He's been acting for a long time.
So like what started was it like these finance bros, these stockbrokers, the yuppies of the late 80s and like the like kind of the mid to late 80s.
Yeah.
They are all trying to be they're chasing the same thing, which leads to them having the same exact personality and sometimes
Yep.
the same haircut.
Yep.
When Paul Allen walks in, he confuses Patrick Bateman for Halbert Halberstram, whatever his
Yeah,
name
that
is.
guy. Yep.
He confuses it for a different person, and right there, well, not, I don't think he decides to kill him right there, but like that's what it's all about. He confuses this person, tricks Paul Allen into coming to like a restaurant with him,
Yep.
and then tricks him to go into his apartment, fucking kills Paul Allen, and then like a detective, like a private detective comes and stuff, figures out all this stuff, but like I'm explaining this plot very terribly.
You
So
got the basic Just
And as like throughout the movie, like there's just different instances of him killing random like when he kills like this homeless dude.
yep,
And
and the dog.
yeah, you
Yeah.
can tell. Like, do you think he was genuinely trying to help that guy?
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, that the whole point of that scene was to express um an insecure male's desire for ultimate power over others. Because when you have it even comes with the fact that he's standing and the homeless man is sitting. Um, because to for Patrick to satiate his complete lack of personal security and horrible self-esteem,
Mm-hmm.
he berates him and tells him how shitty he is for being poor. Why don't you just get a fucking job? Like saying shit like that.
Yeah.
And then the ultimate uh the ultimate like message of that little scene was like a real man that is that insecure is obviously not going to murder people. Like that's where the character in the movie is, it's like the fictional bit. But like very hyper insecure men will do the same thing where they'll they'll do things to belittle people below them. And then when Patrick kills him, that's like an expression of that hyper insecurity that he has because he has so much. He feels he has so much power because he has money and he has sex with these women and he has a job and a corporate personality and all this shit. And it's just an expression of power so he can fulfill his own insecurity. And he takes his insecurity out on the weak. And the weak in that example is a small animal and a homeless person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's just one. That's just one of his like many murders. Like
Yes.
it gets to the point where towards the end, he is like on a string of like just multiple. I think it starts. It starts when like he the second time around where you lose that like that one I think prostitute into the
When she's
car.
run down the stairs.
Yeah, she's running downstairs and fucking drops a chainsaw and kills her, right?
Crazy. Oh,
And
that
like
was wild. Oh my
that's
god.
in Paul Allen's apartment.
Yeah, that's right.
So like after that, he just goes on to kill. Like he's just kind of like running away from the cops and everything. Starts
Yeah,
shooting them.
yeah,
Think there's a helicopter chasing him and stuff.
yeah,
Confesses like his whole murder
yeah,
spree, and then like the next day, he just kind of just shows up casually. He confesses to his lawyer. Like he gives his whole like a phone call, confesses to his lawyer like a voicemail, right? Sees his lawyer the next day and is like, "Hey, did you get my voicemail?" He's like, "Oh, dude, yeah, that was hilarious." He's like,
Uh,
"What? What do you mean?" He's
what?
like, he's like, he like
No.
multiple times he tells him, "I killed him. Like I killed many people," and he starts to get he starts to get weirded out. He's like, "I'm not. This is not funny anymore." He's like, "I killed Paul Allen." He's like, "It's impossible." He's like, "Why is it impossible, you stupid bastard?"
You stupid bastard.
He's like,
Why not?
"Yeah,
You
why not?"
stupid bastard.
And his reason is,
Like
"I just
shaking.
had dinner with Paul Allen 10 days ago."
Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
right there, I'm gonna read the summary from IMDb because I feel like I wasn't given like a good one.
That was pretty good.
And okay, a wealthy New York City investment banking executive, Patrick Bateman, hides his alternate psychopathic ego from his coworkers and friends as he delves deeper into his violent hedonistic what
Hedonistic.
hedonistic I've never
Yep.
heard of that word hedonistic fantasies. In the late 1980s, 27-year-old Wall Streeter Patrick Bateman travels among a closed network of proverbial beautiful people. Network and only what that closed network and only they able to allow others like themselves in a feeling of superiority. Patrick
Yep.
has a routinized. I cannot speak today.
Okay.
Routinized? That's not true. Like a routine. How do you say routine past tense?
I guess routinized. How's it spelled? Routinized.
Ed.
Ed.
Routinized.
Routinized. Yeah. Yeah.
morning regimen to maintain his appearance of attractiveness and fitness. He, like those in his network, are vain, narcissistic, egomaniac. Oh my god, egomaniacal. What the fuck?
Egomaniacal.
Egomaniacal and competitive, always having to one up everyone else in that presentation of oneself. But he, unlike the others, realizes that for himself, all of these are masks to hide what is truly underneath. Something inhuman in nature. In other words, he is comprised of a shell resembling a human that only contains greed and disgust. Greed and wanting that what others may have, and disgust for those who do not meet his expectations, and for himself in not being the first or the best. That disgust ends up manifesting itself in wanting to rid the world of those people, he not seeing them as people, but only of those characteristics he wants to rid. That was
Yes.
from a Huggo. What is Huggo?
Hugo? What?
That was like the summary. What was
Oh.
from plot author. Thank
Oh,
you,
I see.
Huggo.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Okay, yeah. Thanks, Hugo. I was
Yeah,
like,
thank
what the
you.
fuck does that word mean? I was like, what?
Courtesy of Huggo. But
Hell
that
yeah.
is that is
Thanks.
this movie is just about this delusional man who is a
Yep.
psychopath
Yep.
parading around as a banking executive in
Yep.
mid to late 1980s,
Yes.
going like he's already in madness. It's slipping. He even says it in the
Yep.
movie. It's like I feel
It's true.
I feel myself, my mask slipping more
Yeah.
and more.
Yeah. He's like in the tanning bed. He's like, my nightly bloodlust has
Yeah.
transferred into the day.
Yeah,
Like,
his
oh my God.
I'm like, dude, this guy,
Crazy.
it wants, it's just wanting you to keep watching. I was like, what is he gonna do next?
Yeah.
Like, what is he
Yeah.
doing? What is he going to do?
Yeah. It's incredibly interesting. I think he's a fantastic character. Yeah.
So like, I copied from actually IMDb. It's no, the film analysis. What is this called? The University of North Carolina. Questions on
Okay.
like a film analysis. So
All right.
let's talk about the narrative. So how does the film correspond to the three act structure? Act one, setup, act two, confrontation, and act three, resolution. We can argue that act three was it resolved?
Um, from like a good guy wins point of view, no, it's not resolved because nothing changes.
Nothing
But from a
changes.
from a messaging standpoint, it is resolved because the message is solidified. The final part of the message is solidified in the third act. Um, and that specific outcome message from the third act is the imbalance of socioeconomic states in when you get things like class privilege and stuff like that. So the third act really it highlights how invincible very wealthy white men are in society. That's the point of the third act because Patrick goes on this crazy murder spree. Like he fucking shoots an old lady at an ATM, and he's running from the cops, and he's shooting at a cop car and shit. And then he runs into his office, and he calls his lawyer. He's like, "I did it all. I killed all those people. I killed the prostitute." Blah, 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 blah. He's like whining and crying, and then he walks out of the office, goes home, goes to bed, wakes up the next morning, takes a nice shower, and then he goes to brunch with his douchey finance bro friends. And essentially, what that is showing us is that despite all of his actions, he received no consequences. And though he received no consequences because of his status as a wealthy white businessman. Wealthy people, the social state of that sector of the economy, all of those people will protect each other in order to preserve that money making circle that they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So if Patrick Bateman goes to jail for murdering, who gets hit by that? The shareholders at his company, his coworkers at the company, and then the reputation of the company. Those are all going to get affected by that. If Patrick Bateman and gets convicted for his murders and um, they create a big like crime scene at Paul Allen's apartment, then the property owner of the apartment complex is going to take a huge hit in his property values. So covering up the murders instead will retain that sort of that high status of the building, and people will continue to want to buy into that. And then you can make some sort of argument for like a sort of a racial or a white privilege, mostly because I don't think there's any black characters in the whole movie.
Besides the
I don't.
homeless guy.
Well, and there's a point right there we can talk about. The rich, powerful white man asserting his dominance over the weak, poor, homeless black man. There's a racial angle to that. So that's where that kind of that white privilege, class privilege idea comes through. But that's mostly from what the third act is for.
Yeah. So like so act one, the setup, we see his we're introduced to his psychopathic tendencies.
Yes.
Him narrating to himself
Yep.
like he's someone but like above somebody else. Like
Correct.
he speaks to us, the audience, like we're idiots. He gives us his
That's
whole
true.
he gives us his whole like bathroom routine, like his whole morning routine.
Yeah.
He's like, this scrub is for this, and this scrub is for that.
In his cabinet with the fucking.
If I
Oh
wake up
my
feeling
god.
puffy, I'll put on
Oh
I'll put
yeah,
on a ice
man.
mask and stuff like
Dumps his
that,
face in the cold water and
right?
shit. Oh my
And I mean,
god.
like, you're introduced to that, and you're like, okay, I mean, it's weird, but
Yeah,
it's his morning routine.
sure.
And then, like, what was the first? Like, I don't think his morning routine indicated anything that like he's a psychopath, like he's a murderer yet. But
No,
I think the
yeah.
first thing we see was when he was at he was at a club after work, and he was ordering drinks. It was all loud and everything,
Oh
trying to scare
yeah.
people. And
Oh.
he he has these like
Oh.
tickets. He has these tickets for like uh drinks or whatever. And
Yeah,
lady's like, "Hey, we don't accept these. It's gonna be 27.50 or whatever." And he goes
yeah.
back to like to get the
Turned
drinks, and
around.
he's like, "I want to murder you and like feel your blood in your guts and rub it all over or whatever."
Yeah. Like some
And
out of pot. I just remember how unexpected that was. Like
yeah,
she turns around, he's like, I'd like to fucking slit your throat. Blah, 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 blah. He's just screaming that out loud, like, holy shit.
right. And then like nothing. When I first saw that, I was
You're
like,
just blown
I
away.
was like, and she didn't hear it.
Yeah.
It's either one, it's like the different angles of this movie, like the things he says and does are so convenient to his status that like
Mm,
it goes unnoticed, or two, it's just a psychotic delusion that like when when do we see him dip in and out of like psychosis?
yeah.
That's the angle I like to like explore. And I like how
Yeah.
yours is grounded in reality and mine's like there are multiple parts in this movie where we're like for example, I'm fast forwarding, but like when he's going to the ATM to withdraw cash, he's a big cash person for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean like credit cards
Mhm.
are, like kind of new at that point, I think, or
That's
are they?
true, yeah. I think by the 80s, I think they were kind of normal. I don't know
Okay.
if they were like everyone used them, but like they were known, I think.
Yeah. He
I
had a
don't know
lot of
though.
cash on him at
Yeah,
all times. I That's just like flex, another thing of
definitely a flex for sure,
his
yeah.
ego. But
Yeah.
the ATM was like, hey, he picks up a stray cat for like, whatever reason. Maybe he has a kindness in his heart to pick up a stray cat, and then it's like, feed me the stray cat, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like, no way, it's like no
What the
way that
fuck?
he's
Yeah.
like, and then like, then he goes to kill the cat because it won't fit in
Yeah.
the damn ATM.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, God, he's losing it. He's losing it so
Yeah.
much. But like the lady
That
comes
is-
over, and then all we see is that like he has a gun pointed to a cat. That's the grounded reality of it. But like
Yeah.
the audience sees his psychosis moments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's an interesting I looked at a little bit about the book because this is an adaptation of a
Yep,
book.
adaptation.
Um, so in the book, he's described as a unreliable narrator because the book is narrated from his perspective. And an unreliable narrator in books is basically the narrator of the book cannot be trusted. You don't know what they're saying if it's true or not. So I think that's how that was portrayed into the movie is like
Yeah,
those moments of like, did he actually just fucking say that? Like, what the fuck? Like, Yeah.
Yeah, and like I like to interpret those as his like dips into psychosis where
Absolutely. Yeah,
like nobody
that
hears what
is
he
exactly what it
says.
is. Yeah.
It's like nobody
Yeah.
hears what he says because he's thinking of it in his mind, and like
Yeah.
and we
Hmm.
see that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's such a great thing. Like a big thing I commented on with like why this movie is so interesting in terms of like its world and like the happenings within the world is like how ethereal and kind of like dreamy it is. Like you don't really know like what's happening, if like, oh, is this a real event, or like is this like happening in his brain, or like you
Yeah,
don't know. Because there's moments like towards the end in the third act, like we talked about, when he's shooting that cop car and it just combusts. Like,
I was like,
there's moments like that. Like, what the fuck? Like,
you gotta have like
yeah,
a David and Goliath type luck one to
yeah,
like to shoot like the only way that's possible is like shooting the engine for it to combust
yeah,
like that, or like
yeah,
hitting or shooting like where the gas is stored, right?
exactly.
I
Yeah,
mean, like, so, like, sure, it's possible, but it's that's not the point. The point is,
right,
did this happen or not?
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, there's definitely some like kind of dreamy things that go on. Like another one I can point out that I haven't seen anybody really talk about is before he runs up into his office to confess his crimes, he goes into the other building which is next to it,
Yeah.
and the security guard calls him by a different name like he knows him. He says, "Hello, Mr. Smith," or some shit like that, and then he just fucking bam like shoots him.
Yeah, just kills them.
Yeah, but he calls him by a different name, and like it's kind of strange. Like
But you're burning the
at
midnight
that point, I
oil,
was
Mr. Smith.
questioning if
I think
it's.
we says what he said.
I think he says Mr. Smith or something. But at that point, I was questioning, like, does he even know his own name? You know what I mean? Like,
Right, because at
yeah.
the end, I think his own lawyer didn't even know who he was.
Hmm.
He's like, I'm
Yeah.
Patrick Bateman. Like, I did that.
Yeah.
And he's like,
It's
it's just not
me. Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's pretty amazing how, and, I don't know what other questions we have to go through, but do you have, is it in the doc? I don't want to
it
like
is in
talk
the
about
doc.
too much. Okay, let me look at the doc. I'm gonna make one point if I can't answer it in a later question.
I mean, we've kind of bounced around. Like this is turned into a discussion and not just an analysis at this point.
Shared with me. Wait, hold on. Recent. There it is. Okay. Um, at the bottom. Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay. Well, I'll just point on, like, since we're talking about the questionability of the reality, um, and like how that uh converts into like production strategy for like what the director was doing. So Willem Dafoe's character is a detective, and he is basically like questioning Patrick throughout several
Several
portions of the
scenes.
movies. Yeah. So, fun fact that I learned is they shot all of Willem Dafoe's parts in three ways. So they shot it in a way that um, Willem Dafoe is pretending that he knows that Patrick is the killer. The second is he does not know, and then the third is that he doesn't think it's him. And what they did in post is they mixed these scenes. So, like, say at the restaurant when he's interviewing him, right? They go to lunch together.
Yeah, the
Um,
lunch.
there are moments where it's like super weird. Like, it'll change from it seems like Willem Dafoe knows that Patrick is the killer, and then the very next minute, it's like he has no idea. So they combine those three. Well, that's why Willem Dafoe is a fantastic acting performance in this movie. Is that they combined those three moods where he, and it's like that. That's it adds more to the confusion. And it's very interesting. So
Yeah,
I
and
like that a lot.
I'd actually argue that it. Do you so in that in the lunch scene? Do you think he
Mm.
knows? Are you saying what do
Um,
you think? Or like what was said?
um, because he's not a cop, he is a PI. He's not a cop.
Private investigator.
Um,
Yeah.
I do believe that he knows. And the reason that he knows and the way it connects to the end is they're trying. So the PI is, this is a theory. The PI is hired by some corporate entity. So like maybe the business that Patrick works for, or maybe the property manager of Paul Allen's apartment or
Yeah,
something.
Kimball, the detective says he was hired by Paul Allen's family to do.
Okay, there you go. So Paul Allen's family. So we could connect that to the end by if the detective can confirm that it's Patrick, then they can do everything that they can to cover up his crimes from the actual police.
You're right. I didn't
Um,
think about that either.
yeah,
He could have said Paul Allen's family, but it could have
yeah,
been a corporate
corporate
investigator. Oh
interest.
my
Yeah,
gosh.
exactly. And that would explain why he's so buddy buddy with Patrick, and he's not really trying to pin him down. When Patrick is absolutely failing at hiding his crimes, like when he's interviewing him in the office and he's being all suspicious and shit, and he's like, "Do you know where Paul Allen is?" And he's like, "Oh," and he's like mixing up his story a bunch, and like it's
Yeah.
pretty obvious that he's connected to the crime somehow. But the PI, Willem Dafoe, is like, playing this like clueless vibe, like he has no fucking idea what's going on. So it's very possible. This is obviously a crazy aside theory, but like it's possible that he was hired by some sort of corporate interest in order to preserve the integrity of the company, making sure that this guy does not get fired and that they can cover up what they need to.
Yeah, that because in that lunch scene, he's like explaining, he's like, well, on the night that Paul Allen that he disappeared, he was mixing up his stories until the detective was listing off the names that who went to dinner with Paul Allen. He's like, blah blah blah, and you, and he's like, oh yeah, yeah, right, yeah,
Oh,
I was
I
there.
forgot.
Yeah, that's what he literally did. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
forgot.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, and
Like, come
I
on,
was like,
man.
dude, he knows,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
he's not reported to the police. So that
Yeah.
also reminds like, no, he has to be a corporate interest guy. 'Cause there's no way
Yeah, it's something.
he
Yeah.
he. I'm pretty sure he knew after the first meeting. The first meeting he didn't know,
Absolutely.
and then
Yeah.
like, oh
Yeah. Basically, they were trying to figure out if it was Patrick in order to protect him, not to convict him.
yeah,
Um, because once they know who did it for sure, which was very obvious, even with the very little information that they knew, then they could protect him. Um, because they know who to protect and who they can scapegoat
yeah.
instead.
If
So,
if we're
yeah,
going the corporate route, when he's on the chain, that the string of murders, they starts with the chainsaw.
yeah,
The one of the women bangs on the door as she's running for her life.
yeah,
And
hmm,
my girlfriend also was like, "Yo, like, you think they bought out everybody in that like apartment to move
yeah.
because of Patrick? But that's also
That's
Paul
very
Allen's
possible.
place. So that
Yeah.
also, oh
Um.
yeah, that makes more sense because if they discovered he was murdered there
Yeah.
or like that he was missing, I don't even know. Actually, it
Yeah.
does make sense now.
There's definitely like when we get into details like that, you kind of go back to that non-reality question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there could be some sort of delusion in Patrick's mind because a lot of the angles that we'll talk about the abuse of women theme in this in a little bit here, but that could very much be, like um, to secure a kill that's challenging. Like you have to chase her to kill her. Like that's more
Mm-hmm.
rewarding. So that could be a delusion in his mind that he had to chase her. So that idea that she was banging on the door and still nobody could stop him from
Yeah.
killing her, that just feeds his ego even more. That even though she did so much to run and she tried to get people to save her, he still prevailed because he's the best and he can kill him. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
dude. And like when she like
yeah,
kicked to get away, he's like,
yeah.
"Lift the face, you stupid
Not the
bitch."
fucking face. Yeah, yeah, and like yeah, that that just like that furthers just how pathetic he is. He's in the process of murdering this woman, and he's still concerned about how he looks.
Yeah, we can talk about like I saw in an interview or something when I first saw it, I was like researching like just like he was like everything about this. The
Yep.
director was like, yes, I would lean on this as me more of like I tried to make it as like a feminist kind of movie.
And that's what it is. I agree. Yes.
Okay, good. I'll. Can you explain that? Because I believe that, but it's one of those things where I can't explain that because I'm bad at
Right.
explaining stuff
It's
sometimes.
okay.
What? So explain to us and the me and the audience, like, why is it a feminist movie?
Okay. So there's let me go to my review. I point out the big themes.
Yeah, no, I saw that. Yeah, I'll go to your
So there's I think let me go to it. Da, 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 da.
additionally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the three main themes, like the meta commentary of this movie, are um, toxic masculinity. Uh, it's like so toxic masculinity. There's a critique of capitalism, and then there's a critique of class privilege.
Mm-hmm.
So the feminist angle, which I think is the most pertinent one in the movie, is the toxic masculinity. Um, so basically, Patrick Bateman is a satire of toxic men.
Mm-hmm.
So and toxic men in this context are more traditionally masculine, meaning they're very obsessed with male stereotypes like having short hair, making a lot of money, um, conquering women. Those would be symbols of a traditional man. So a traditional man, a successful traditional man, makes a lot of money, has a lot of sex, and protrudes everything about maleness. So he has short hair, he goes to the gym, he works out, he's buff, he's angry, he's aggressive, he is dominant. That's what a toxic man is in this
Mm-hmm.
in a general context. So the reason that this movie is such a feminist angle is it is a satire of that toxic man. So it satirizes the those traits in a very extreme manner. So traditional men are extremely obsessed with making a lot of money. So we have Patrick and all of his finance buddies super obsessed with producing the most and consuming the most. So they must have the biggest account at work. They must have the nicest haircut. They must have the best apartment. Things like that. So those are all traits of a toxic, of a traditionally toxic man because they're extremely insecure with their own self. So they have to have things to show why they're better than other men. So
Yes.
like you'll
Yes.
see, to give a real world example, guys that drive massive trucks,
Oh yeah.
guys that lease very expensive sports cars just to impress their friends, things like that. Um, and then the bigger feminist angle in this movie would have to be so thematically, Patrick Bateman isn't just a murderer. The murderer and rape of women in this movie is a commentary on the need for these toxic men to dominate women in order to be validated by themselves and by their buddies. So, very insecure men cannot have any sort of self-respect or self-esteem without conquering women, and that manifests itself in his obsession with pornography as well, because pornography is a male power fantasy generally. And you'll see him in his apartment, like when he's working out, he's playing porn in the background, or he'll play the Texas Chainsaw Massacre clip while he's doing his sit-ups and shit on the
Yeah.
ground, and she's screaming because it's a power fantasy. So the feminist angle is that it is satirizing the helpless efforts of men, insecure men, to conquer women in order to feel secure in themselves. And specifically when we look towards more of like the prostitution stuff, like where he's filming, you know, the the iconic scene where he's like, "Don't just look at it, eat it."
Yeah.
Like, um, that's and that whole scene where he films it and he's like looking at himself in the mirror and he's like flexing and
Yeah.
shit. Yeah. Um, basically, it's just I think it's the director. Mary Heron. She's the director of this movie. It was her idea to sort of put that scene in to make fun of hyper insecure men because he's filming this sexual conquest that he paid for, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the ironic bit is like, this is not a sexual conquest because he fucking paid for it, you know? So it's basically just like poking holes in all of that traditional like male mindset of like sexual conquest and dominating women and all that shit. Um, but I'll just kind of read my little short paragraph to summarize. So, um, what I said on the feminist angle was additionally Bateman's obsession with pornography and sexual conquest commentates more into the fragility of his character and traditional male ideals. He asks to dominate women to be validated by his peers and himself. Bateman's murders of these same women are the ultimate hyperbole of the domination and abuse of women by toxic traditional men. So, the murders are um, what do you call it? A metaphor for domination and abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, because another trait of very insecure, shitty men is that they will beat their wives, beat their girlfriends, verbally abuse, mentally abuse, whatever. But the murders and the rapes are a metaphor for abuse of women in order for shitty men like him to feel powerful because they have no power inside of themselves.
Yeah.
So
That's
that
good.
was that was kind of jumbled, but that's the feminist angle of the movie.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
I understand more now. And there's multiple points where he, I find it funny. He's like, I have to return some videotapes.
I don't know what that means. I can't figure that one out.
um, to me, I think that means, well, he rents porn. So like maybe he's
That's
telling
the
the
best
truth.
guess I got. Yeah.
But
That's the best guess I got.
he says that after breaking up with his fiance,
Yeah.
he's like, but where are you going? He's like, I have to return some
I have to
videotapes.
he like leans over,
Yeah, like so, like
whispers, I
whisper
have to return some videos.
videotapes.
Oh
I
god.
was like, is that like a cue for like, is that his like mental cue that like I have to murder somebody right now because I'm
That could
so,
be another thing, yeah.
because he's only, I'm pretty sure he only says it twice during the film.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a good point. I the only thing I could go back to is like he's talking about he's like got to go he's got to return his porn.
Yeah, I think maybe, but yeah, because it would make sense because we see him in the beginning of the film, like actually like watching it, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
not. Or is that something that he recorded himself? No, I think there was music in the back. It looked like a typical like porno.
Yeah. I think the point of that scene was once again like he is validating his insecurity by seeing women dominated sexually.
Yeah.
Because if he can't do it himself, he has to see someone else do it in order to kind of put himself in the driver's seat of the man in the video. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because pornography is a way that I mean, not just men, but pornography is bad for everybody. But for men specifically, it is a way for them to put themselves into a power fantasy that is not real, so that they can feel better about being a dominant sexual being or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
So let's talk about. Let me see. I wrote this down too. Let me see the cultural. So this came. Let's talk about when this movie came out. A lot of people criticized the director. Was like, you hate women. That's why you made this movie. Like this movie is made to hate
Absolutely
women.
opposite. Opposite.
And people just didn't understand because
Yeah.
like, because I mean, I don't know what wave of feminism was during the 2000s, but it's a lot more like it's more informative. Like feminism is more understanded now than what was in
Agree.
2000 because of media. To be honest, like feminism was
Yeah.
always like shown as like hippie women. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
like equal rights.
Yeah.
like I
Really,
want to be
yeah.
paid.
Until the 70s, feminism was entirely an underground social movement. And then I wouldn't say really until probably the late 2000s, it wasn't really mainstream at all. Like it kind of died after the 70s because the ERA was denied by the Supreme Court. Really the biggest victory of the the mid-century feminists was the Roe v. Wade. But a lot of their other motives were shut down by the government, so
Yeah,
it kind of died off. I think by the time this movie came out, I think it was starting to rebirth in a way, into developing into what it is today. Um, yeah,
yeah. So like when this came out, do you think it was misunderstood?
absolutely. Yeah. Um, a lot of in the 80s, we talk about the 70s, that was sort of the end of the counterculture. It sort of survived through other alternative communities like the punks and whatnot, but by the 80s it was less mainstream. And American traditionalism sort of came back with the Reagan bullshit. But the I'd say the biggest change for like women in the 80s was it was more common for women to work, um, and be sort of the family figure at the same time. And so I think the progressiveness of that movement kind of faltered in the 80s, not because of it's not because of like women's not trying or whatever. It's mostly because the government was just kind of cramming it down into the dirt. Um, so by the 2000s, I think that the fervor of the 70s was starting to grow again. I'm extremely or undereducated on feminist history, but
Mm-hmm.
this is like from what I understand. I think by the 2000s it was becoming less underground once again, and this movie was very clearly misunderstood by, I'm
Yeah,
sure,
I
all
mean,
kinds of people.
when you watched it, I mean, I saw in your reviews like this is a feminist movie, like
Absolutely, yes.
because it's a satire of it. I think people just weren't. I
People
don't know.
didn't get the joke. That's
That's
literally it.
that's it. They
They
didn't
didn't
get
get
it.
the joke. Yeah,
They didn't get the joke. It was
yeah,
misunderstood,
yeah.
and it was due to that current state of feminism at that point, I believe.
I agree. And yeah, and like not to blame like the feminist movement, but like to more blame the society that it was in. Because like the biggest reason that feminist ideology is not taken seriously or pursued with like policy changes is because we live in a society dominated by maleness and male superiority and whatnot. And I think this movie is a an active fight against that. And it's like it's critiquing that maleness that is suppressing the equality of women. Um, because when you have guys like Bateman and his fucking shitty finance bros, um, dominating the world, um, in whatever way, financially, via political connections, and even their own domestic abuse of their partners or whatever. There isn't much room for women to have the resources to break out of their suppression. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. Well said. Another thing I want to say about the cultural and historical part of this is
go.
that there's multiple times in this movie where they do reference current events at or supposedly at that time, and what I think
Yeah,
it takes place in 87. It is in 87.
1987. Okay.
But like it crosses into 88 because we see a Christmas party sort of thing, and then time
Oh,
passes
that's
on
right. Yep. Okay.
afterwards.
Yep.
But we see that like they talk about when Patrick is trying to like when they go to this restaurant with like this very underground kind of indie restaurant like with somebody's
Oh,
like
with
the
the
goth
art
people.
people? Yeah, the
Yeah,
goths. Hell yeah, that was a
those
great part.
like the goth people.
Yeah.
He's like, we really shouldn't be worrying about that. We should be worrying about people, world hunger. Like
Oh yeah, when
he
he's like
lists
whittling
all these.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was like, wow, he like how does somebody else not call him out on his bullshit? Like, why are you
Hmm.
trying? He's trying so hard,
Yep.
but that's what he understands is fitting in.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
And like, how do people not see like how do people look up to him when he says some shit like that?
Yeah.
Like, how delusional? How delusional can you be to like look up to this figure because of what like of how successful he was. How successful he was is related to his dad being the CEO,
Yeah.
right? He's not the CEO. His dad is, or what? That's what his fiance is saying. Is like your dad is the CEO. He probably owns the company, so you don't have to do anything, right? I just don't understand. And like, how much do you think Andrew Tate pulled from Patrick Bateman?
Dude, well, the the angle that Andrew Tate is taking is actually like it is so like it's sickening. Like he he takes I don't know what I would say. He he's using every possible resource that is known in order to indoctrinate young men, not men, but specifically young men. Um, and Andrew Tate does this to not only further his economic pursuits, but also his ideological pursuits, because I feel that Andrew Tate is so incredibly I just like worthlessly insecure to the point where he feels that he needs to be idolized by thousands and thousands and thousands of teenage boys, which is super weird, first of all. And then also he has to um, live in this world where everyone thinks that he's like this, the top G. That's what I always see. um, they like he has to have a whole bunch of impressionable young men idolize him in order for him to feel any sort of security in his own self-esteem. Um, and Andrew Tate definitely pulls from common like isolated male stereotypes. So like what would I say? All the common ones like Ryan Gosling in that one movie. I can't remember what it's called. Fucking is it Drive? Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay. I'll just list some. That Ryan Gosling character, the guy in Blade Runner, fucking uh Patrick Bateman, Anakin Skywalker, I know. um
Really?
yeah, but basically like what those characters are generally they're supposed to show why it's bad to be like an isolated toxic
Oh, yeah.
male. That's the point of those characters. But a lot of impressionable young men see their power. Like Anakin is powerful, you know what I mean? And he's this lone wolf and he doesn't need help from anybody. And he does all this amazing things and he takes all this power. So it's like a power fantasy. So what Andrew Tate does is he uses attributes of those very individualistic men to make young men feel like, oh, I can be powerful like them too. I can have sexual conquests like these men. I can, you know, and the unfortunate thing is young men are incredibly impressionable and like I'm both of us have faltered whether we knew it or not into those stereotypes and that's just a result of the way society has created the image of a man which is extremely toxic um, and I think things are changing now especially when we make conversation about this kind of stuff and yeah. So I think Andrew Tate definitely borrowed from the book of the tortured male lead character.
Yeah. I definitely want, because you referenced that in your review, and
Yeah,
I agree. Like if this movie came out today, it would it like Andrew Tate would gravitate heavily towards it. People would be like, "Those are the
yeah.
same dudes."
And the strange thing is that someone like Andrew Tate will do everything that they can to distance themselves, like, oh, I'm not anything like this guy. I'm not bad. Where at the same time they are exuding every quality of that person at the same time. Um, so because a big thing with Andrew Tate is he's all about being a lone wolf, getting your money up, and then don't chase women, they'll chase you. You're the best, blah blah blah. And it's all about isolation and grind culture and like all this bullshit that involves nothing about emotional intelligence, physical health. Like it's just all about like being this like godlike figure that people want to chase, but actually in reality nobody wants to chase an emotionally unavailable, completely stunted, isolated loser. Nobody wants that. Like that's the crime of his philosophy. And
Mm-hmm.
like I mentioned Andrew Tate in the review for kind of a joke, but like it is true. Like most of his audience are going to be the type of generally young men that idolize a character like Patrick Bateman, because they see Patrick Bateman as an isolated, young, attractive, very sexually active man.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all like, woo, those are fun things. Those are things I want to be. But in reality, like they fail to see exactly how horrible he is. They can't see past the fact that he is beautiful and he takes care of himself. And like, while those are good qualities, yes, like those qualities are motivated by insecurity and internal issues that
Yeah.
need to be worked on.
People who are taking the wrong messages are it like what we said before. They're simply just not getting it. It's going right over
Yeah.
their head.
It's just whoosh.
They're
Yeah.
seeing like the good stuff, but not like the reason why.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I think people who take the angle of like, oh, this movie is about hating women. I think that's one side. And then the other side is like people that idolize the character, and like where you need to be is in the middle. This movie is not about hating women, and this movie is not something to admire.
Yeah.
These people are bad, all of them. The every character that is not a victim in this movie is bad. Like um, you know, Patrick and his finance buddies are self-obsessed, money obsessed, sex obsessed, super insecure. The women that they are in relationships with are extremely battered, very clearly because they self-medicate. Like the girl that he's cheating on Evelyn with is like fucking whacked out on Xanax and drinking all the time because she's clearly a battered, abused individual, and that's like
Yeah.
the whole point of the character is to like show that these actions that these men take are extremely damaging to the domestic setting and to people in general. Like they're
Yeah,
just
dude.
horrible. Yeah,
There's like it's implied that every one of these men are they're sleeping with their friends' wives and like
exactly.
girlfriends. So
Yeah.
like toxic,
Hmm. Yeah.
toxic.
And yeah, it's all toxic. And like, I'm not trying to say anything like, oh, it's okay that the women cheat too. It's not. It's actually
Nah,
horrible,
it's
but
horrible.
it's motivated by a generally like completely emotionally vacant sect of society. Like these people do not give a shit about each other. They're just looking for
Yeah,
the next way to either numb or to escape or whatever, or to run away from their abusive
that's
existence.
right.
Like,
And
yeah,
a great point to that is where like when Patrick's like trying or like ends things with Evelyn, he has to try
yeah,
like multiple times, and she's like
yeah,
writing it off. Right?
yeah.
He's like, "We can't do that. You know, my friends are your friends, and like it
Yeah.
just wouldn't work." And
See
he's
how
like,
shallow that is? Yeah,
"Yeah,
it's
it's like
just
toxic. Like, are you
yeah,
serious?" Like,
yeah,
and he's like, "You know what? You can have him. I don't care."
yeah,
Right? That's
yeah.
what it takes until she finally realizes, oh, he's actually
Oh my
mean to
God,
me.
this is serious. Yeah.
So like,
And
I, oh,
yeah. There's also that I'll bring up one little extra thing that I didn't put in my review. So the woman that Patrick is cheating on Evelyn with, uh that lady, she's married to that other dude,
Yeah,
the gay guy.
yeah,
Um so there's an angle about homophobia in the movie too, because that guy can never come out, because if he does, he'll be ridiculed and probably ousted from the entire culture. Because if he's gay,
exactly.
then he's gone. You know what I
That's
mean?
that's on top
Yeah,
of another toxic masculinity or fragility,
exactly.
actually.
Boom.
Another
Correct.
like he is so disgusted that
Right.
he like made it a homo like a gay advance towards Patrick. He's
Hmm.
cleaning his gloves that he was going to murder
Yeah.
the guy with.
Yeah.
Like,
Like he.
oh my god,
Yeah.
how like fragile do you have to be? He's
Yeah.
washing the gay off of his gloves. It's not
Yeah.
even touching
Yeah.
him.
He's yeah, you'll that's a very common thing with extremely insecure, especially men who are extremely insecure about their sexuality. Um, if any man makes a gay joke to them or touches them, oh, don't touch me, oh, you fucking, and then they say horrible homophobic slurs and whatever. Yeah, that's another angle that attacks, like what you said, that fragile masculinity and that extreme toxicity that comes with it.
Yep. And to segue off of this, there is at the end they're watching a President Reagan interview about or like when he talks about like in
What is he talking about?
invading. He's talking about like, invading some country or like some war on something. There's always a war, and like one
Uh,
of Patrick's buddies is like, how can he say that? You know, he's like saying one thing and it means the other. When like I think he like Reagan is saying something
oh,
to.
here we go. I found it.
All right, what is it?
Uh, Hold on. Um, oh, I just saw it. Hold on. Okay. Uh, when Bateman takes a seat, Ronald Reagan's speech concerning the Iran-Contra crisis plays out on a television set.
Yeah.
Iran-Contra.
So that whole thing, and does it mention what his friend says about Reagan?
Uh, um, Bryce, Justin Theroux's character, refers to Reagan as a harmless old codger, but on the inside lies something else, all of which is met with a general derision from the table and Bateman's resignation of his fate, that inside the internal truth does not matter. Okay,
Yeah,
that's talking about a
it
different
was like
angle.
that's what I was trying to say too. Is
Oh,
like
no, no, here we go.
what?
I got it. Okay, sorry, it's above it. I keep interrupting. Okay. Reagan, who built his career on honest American values, is caught in the middle of a crisis where his administration sold arms to Iran to fund the horrors caused by the ultra right wing military factions in Nicaragua. Okay, yeah. So, go on.
And so when his friend like comments about that, he's saying like how can he say that when he's like it's like a two-faced comment, right?
Yeah,
Like he doesn't mean that.
yeah,
He just wants to make money and kill people, right? It's just like a symbol, it's like a metaphor for
yeah,
Reagan and Patrick Bateman.
yeah. The
Like,
irony is like disgusting because
yeah,
that guy is sitting there criticizing Reagan for being a hypocritical asshole, and then he himself is a hypocritical asshole.
yeah, and then his friend,
That's pretty funny.
yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, the irony and that like how,
Yeah, that one's funny.
uh,
That's a good
yeah,
little section.
and I think like it's like right after that where like it's the ending narration where he's like, nothing matters. My confession has meant nothing.
Yeah,
Like I think that Reagan thing like kind of like triggered that where he finally came to his cathartic like realization that like
yep,
anything I do doesn't matter
exactly. Yeah, because
because
nothing will happen to him.
of this like this critique on American society.
Yep,
You can be this wealthy white privileged person, commit horrible atrocities.
yes,
It won't matter
correct. Yeah,
because everyone wants to protect an interest.
that's exactly correct. Because if a poor black man was in the same position as Bateman, did the same things as Bateman, he would be hung, or not hung. That's whoa, sorry. He would be death penalized easily. Yeah,
Yeah. So like it's just oh my god, it's such a like I don't know how people don't get it. It's this is the satire of satire of
yeah,
our
yeah,
culture.
yeah.
It can be applied to now even.
Absolutely, it can.
Weinstein,
Yes, yes,
dude.
yes. Yes, the entire British royal family being connected to that as well. There's
Yeah.
countless examples of high class white people that get away with everything.
Yeah. And now that you know, other people of color and race are like this wealthy, it still doesn't matter. So now
Yep,
it's more of a privilege and a protecting interests on
yep,
capital. Like capitalism is
yep,
so evil, dude.
yep. It's
So
got
evil.
it has almost nothing going for it. It is complete shit.
And
Yeah,
so I had to watch a couple videos explaining like the Patrick Bateman ideology or like American Psycho ideology or like just analyzing it because I was like, this movie has me thinking, and that's what I
right.
love about movies. It makes
Yeah,
you think.
correct. Absolutely.
So we really didn't follow this outline, but we talked about a
That's
lot of the
okay.
things that
We
I
pretty
had.
much covered the important stuff for sure. I'm sure we can skim through and see if
Yeah,
we
I mean,
missed
like
anything.
questions of race, ethnicity, gender. We
Yep,
talked about that.
yep,
You talked about that a lot. Yeah.
yep,
Does this plot revolve on one character? Yes. This whole
yep,
thing is on the American Psycho, Patrick
yep,
Bateman. It
yep.
all
And
of
all of
him.
his personifications through his little friends. Like we don't see their lives as closely, but I'm sure they're quite similar.
Yeah, we don't see their morning routine. We don't see what they
Yeah,
do in their downtime. We don't see how they interact with their wives even.
exactly.
We only
But we can
see
assume that it's no different than Patrick's horrific abuse.
exactly. So, is there anything else closing comment on this film before like
Uh,
we start to end?
let's see. Um, oh, uh, I thought it was kind of strange. I watched a little bit about this. How obsessed he is with music when
Oh my
he's
god,
like,
I completely missed that. Let's
yeah,
talk about that.
yeah,
This like metaphor or this a
he's weird,
symbolism
man.
for music. How does music play into his? He says he doesn't his only emotions are greed and disgust. But that's also
Yeah,
like hypocritical of him to say because he enjoys music. He constantly talks about the music and what it means and the
yeah,
themes.
yeah. His obsession with music is a sort of character trope. I did some research on this actually. I randomly saw a TikTok video about movie psychopaths are generally obsessed with music. And I thought it was very interesting. Um, so if you look to a lot of movie psychopaths, they have very nice audio setups in their house. Like the Clockwork Orange guy has like a $40,000 record player in his house or some shit. Like
Hmm.
but a lot of like movie psychopaths have a strange obsession with like audio and like music and whatever.
Yeah, that
Um,
Hannibal Lecter guy I remember likes music.
there you go.
He
Yeah,
listens to his music in his jail cell.
yeah. There's another one. I can't remember. It's a the lead character is a girl. I don't know what the movie's called. But she has like this $200,000 speaker set up next to her piano, and like she's some sort of psychopath, and like it's like a common one. Definitely interesting. I don't know how it connects to his um
Well, when he plays Huey Lewis or whatever in the something like that when he kills Paul Allen,
yeah.
the section the section of the song that he plays specifically is like a symbol, not a symbol. Like it relates because
Oh,
it's
I remember. Yep, yep.
yeah.
I go.
I'm
Go.
what is the song
Run.
called? What's the song called?
Hip to be square.
Hip to be square. I mean
Yeah.
that's like my god the square lyrics. I'm looking this up right now.
I forgot about this. This I figured. Yeah, you've enlightened me. I know what this means now. Okay, I was wondering
This
about
whole
this.
is perfectly suited. Like the director chose a great song to be obsessed with because he's like, I like my bands in business suits. I watch them on TV. I'm working out most every day, and I'm watching what I eat.
Yep.
I don't think that like him as a character
Mm.
enjoys like what am I trying to say? No, no. There's something else. It's like right before he like chops Paul's head off. There's a verse that he's saying that like, oh, what is it? No, damn it. What do you see what I was trying to say, right? Could
I think so.
could you follow up?
Yeah. Okay. I'll
Alley
run.
me.
I'll try to run with it. Okay. So the significance of that song specifically. So hip to be square. Let me look at the lyrics.
Oh,
Uh,
hip to be square. It is it. It's like saying it's commentating that, you know, maybe that like it's normal. No, no, I don't know what I was saying. I thought I had something.
okay. I think what it's saying is that it's cool to fit in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was
It's
trying to
cool to
say.
be a sheep. Okay, I don't want to sound like one of those guys. It's cool to follow the masses.
Yeah, it's hip to be square. He's
It's hip to be
saying,
square. Square being a normie, being a conformist,
yeah,
whatever. And Bateman's entire character is focused on trying to fit in and trying to be cool in the eyes of his douchey friends. And he will do anything in his power, including murdering, raping, and abusing women in order to be, in order to feel that that validation, the hipness. Yeah, makes sense. That's awesome, dude. I'm glad you pointed that out. That was very intelligent.
yeah. I have a list of wow. There's a lot of songs that play in this movie, but like,
Yeah, dude. I even pointed that out in the review. They have some great I think I just mentioned it really quick. I was like the soundtrack is great. But like some of the club scenes, like where they're going to the new wave clubs and shit and they're playing like New Order. I was like, that's awesome. Great
yeah, True Faith by New Order. Yeah,
yeah, that's a fantastic song. That is a great New Order's a great new wave band. And like I do like, because I'm kind of a music nerd. I like when he, as brutal as it sounds, like when he's like about to murder people, I like how in depth he goes into like the
yeah,
albums and shit. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like,
yeah. And like
so
that's another psychopathic tendency is like
yeah,
something so like the connection between those two things is like it makes no sense that it's
right.
psychopathic.
Hmm.
That's
Because
what I
he's
would
so
say.
obsessive about it. Like he
Yeah,
has I think in that video I watched that system he has in his apartment is like 20K or something, and 20K in the 80s is that's big
yeah,
shit, man. Like holy fuck, like that's
right.
insane.
And like
Yeah.
when he's doing his whole routine is a song called "Suicide" by John Cale plays.
Okay.
That's interesting. Suicide, like while he's, but I want to find the songs that he deliberately plays in the movie, like for his like victims and himself. But he
Right.
also, what do you think about this? When he walks into the office, he's like listening to "Walking on Sunshine" by Katrina and the
Oh,
Waves.
wow. I thought that was so funny.
Like
I think that was just a bit of comedic relief,
it had
honestly. I
had
don't
to
know. Do you think
be.
it means something?
I think he's like trying to. It's his urge to fit in so much that he's like walking on
Yeah.
sunshine. He's trying to walk on the sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Or maybe he's just like he only listens to suit well, because like Huey Lewis in the News, like I don't want to sound pretentious, but like Huey Lewis in the News is pretty like pop. Like it was like a lot of people liked it. It was like charting music. Same with Walking on Sunshine, that's a charting song.
Yeah,
I think his music taste is so basic because that helps him fit in more, maybe.
maybe. I
I
have
don't want to
another
sound like a
one.
douchebag saying like his music is like people who like pop music are bad. Like
Yeah.
I don't think that's true, but like
When
his music taste is very like surface level. He doesn't like any
surface.
deep cuts or any like interesting. Yeah,
Uh-huh. When he's in the car, when he's in the cab with his fiancee Evelyn, he's
yeah.
listening to Simply Irresistible by Robert Palmer.
Okay,
And like the stuff that like the director chose for his character to listen to is like I could you could try and like look deeper into it sort of. Simply
right.
Irresistible. The whole theme of the movie, like his desire to be irresistible to everybody and to women, you know.
I agree. Yes. Yep.
What else? Let's see. Music for 18th synths is
I found. Hold on. Uh, soundtrack. Where
let me see. Um Deck the Halls, Joy to the World. Yeah, yeah,
is a
yeah.
Cure song in this movie? Interesting.
There's a whole thing on there's a big paragraph on Hit to Be Square. He flaunts in front of Paul. The first song is described as the catchy single "Hip to Be Square" from Hewlett and the new second album. 4. The scene is significant for Patrick's lengthy critique of Hewlett's career and the hidden meanings behind this particular track. In the middle of the song, Patrick dons his raincoat and lists his acts for scene that defines the movie as he murders Paul. Yeah, there's that. Um, but now there's something else that like I wanted to like the music thing. I can't really like delve deep into like why as a murderer, it's like this psychopath that he like likes to. He's really interested in music.
Yeah,
Ah,
I think it's got to be. I don't know. I think it's mostly just because he really likes pop, and pop is like the most accessible genre, meaning that that helps him fit in and be the most normal. Um, in order to
yeah.
satiate his lack of self. Like he can't develop his own personality, so he only listens to the most generic pop music so he can fit in the best with other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's my that's my best guess. I thought the walking on sunshine part was just him. Like I thought that was just a joke. Like
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
obviously,
this
I was like, oh, that's funny.
this crazy motherfucker like who murders people in the nighttime. He's like in the office.
Yeah,
Like
I don't know.
that just made me laugh.
During that point, I don't know if it's revealed that like he's just like he's some murderer, but at this point, I think when that happens, he's just kind of like some douche who's listening to walking on
Yeah.
sunshine, some business douche.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, good catch on the music front because I did want to discuss that too. So I was like, since you're into music, but
Yeah.
it
That's
is
the
a
best
pretty good
you
soundtrack.
get out of that. It is good. Yeah, they have some very some like kind of I wouldn't say like really obscure stuff, but like definitely they really grab the new wave movement of New York from that day because that was like that was big time. Like
Hmm.
that's what people were into in
Yeah,
that, especially New York because uh Talking Heads kind of birthed that genre and that's they
yeah.
came from New York, you know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah,
Like
true.
you know that song Psycho Killer, Qu'est-ce que c'est? Ba
Yeah.
ba ba
Bum, bum, bum.
ba 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 ba. Yeah, that's like early new wave and they're from New York, so
Mm,
that's like super timely, super on point with the location too.
yeah. So now we're on to the final. Unless I think of anything. Final sayings on this movie. Anything else you got?
Mm, uh no, I think we got everything. Yeah. What about you? Do you have anything else?
It's a good movie,
It
but
is.
take away. Be careful what you take away from it
There you
because
go. That's what we want. Yeah.
like
Take away the right message.
take away the right message. It's not supposed to be some generic slasher film like Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
It
It's a
has
little more
a
than that.
narrative. Take away the, the right message from it.
Yes.
But with that, let's decide what we're gonna watch next.
That's a great idea.
S- Did you have any ideas? Because I recommended
Um,
this one.
hold on, let me go back. I'm looking at my review. Talking about Evil Dead.
Yeah, we could do Evil Dead.
All right.
You want to do the first one? Or you want to do the 2013 remake?
Let's see. Evil Dead film series.
Personally, I haven't seen the remake. I've only seen the first three.
Okay. Um, Evil Dead. Hold up, let me find it. Uh, Dead remake. 2013. All right, what can I stream you?
Because I think the first three movies were directed by Sam Raimi, who made the Spider-Man films.
Oh, that's cool. The original one.
Yeah, the original
Original.
one, the sequel, and the threequel.
Al, what's the remake?
Okay, I'm interested. So, that's what we can do. You watch the remake, and I'll watch it too. We'll discuss it, and then we can watch the original Evil Dead and see what you think about that.
Okay,
That sound good?
sure.
All right, because Evil Dead Rise just came out in theaters, so we can also talk about that.
Evil Dead. Dun, dun.
Oh, dude, Evil Dead 2 is like the best. I love Evil Dead 2 from 1986 or something.
Yeah, I
87.
see that here. We got this.
I bought like the whenever I really like a movie, I'll buy the like director's cut or like editions of physical editions of the movies that has like the background documentaries or like interviews and stuff like that, just so I can know
Yeah,
more
the commentary and stuff.
commentaries and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I did for The
2013.
Godfather. We gotta watch The Godfather. Have you seen that?
I have not, and I know that's super famous too. All right, Evil Dead
Yes.
2013. Thread. Okay. Okay. Cool. That will be next episode. Hmm.
All right,
All right,
that'll
a
be
full
next
review.
episode. Evil Dead remake, not remake. I think just a reboot, not remake.
Yeah, 2013.
All
Gotcha.
right, that's where we'll end it. Thank you guys for listening to this jumbled discussion of American Psycho. First of hopefully many reviews and stuff. But if there's an interesting like gaming topic we want to discuss, we'll do that too. It's kind of what we decide to do, honestly, because it's our show. Do what we want.
Correct. It is.
34th episode. Catch us for episode 35. Have a good week, month, and year, people.
Bye.
Bye.
Stop watching Andrew Tate.
Yes.